Hump Day.
Hump Day.
Wednesday, of course, when it's a youth pastor takeover, that makes it a little more fun, doesn't it, Christopher?
Well, I think it's more fun for me, yeah.
So we tonight have our first regular night of youth group. Last week was our kickoff. It went really well. We had good turnout, lots of fun, food.
It was pretty amazing.
Sixth graders. We had new sixth graders starting youth group, and both campuses had like a whole slew of new leaders, of people coming to shadow and see what Move Youth is all about. So, yeah. Nice job, church people responding.
God is definitely moving some hearts. So anyone out there who's praying for us, please keep doing so. Pray for Move and for the students. And we have a lot of leaders, like quite a few this year that just started off right at the beginning of the year. And so we got them trained, we have them in, and they're not quite like let loose yet. We're slowly doing that, but we're doing some big stuff with students. And just a reminder, we don't just like on Sunday, our church is not like every other church. We're here for the people. Well, on Wednesdays, we don't have students just to teach students. We bring them in to show them God's purpose for their life and help them to own their faith. Like it's bigger. It's much bigger than just teaching.
Absolutely. That's really important. So we are continuing on in the book of Revelation.
We are.
And that has been, you know what? This is, of course, a lot more challenging to talk about, to think about, to read ahead about. It takes more brain energy, it takes more thought process. But I like the challenge too. And I know you, Chris, you eat this up. Like,
well, Revelations is a challenge. I think that's maybe why I like it, because it's a constant challenge to every time I read it, every time I try to study it again. There's always certain sections that get me stuck. And the one we're getting into is one that kind of gets you stuck a little bit. So we did a little bit of research beforehand. So we're going to try to help unpack what this is. And I just feel like some of the other stuff we just know so well because we read it so much. I guess the gospel, it's the good news. And this is more
Christian living, stuff like that.
I feel like Revelations is the revealing of Jesus Christ. It's who God is, who Jesus is. And so there's a lot more. It's not just what the message is, it's who was the one who gave the message. So this is where it gets cool. Right.
But again, that means that the Bible is just so much more than feel good, live a good life, follow a nice, tidy religion. It's a little more complex than that. Yeah. And I love that about it.
So with you saying that, I'm just going to tag team off of what they did. They went through 15, 16, where it talks about the bowls of wrath and God's wrath being poured out on the earth, and it's not good. It's bad. Well, with that, it's our reminder that God is justice. Like, it's not like he is a just God. That's true. But he is the definition of just. And he holds the standard. And so with that, we get confused because we say, well, we'll say, hey, if he's a just God, why isn't he taking care of these problem areas over here, of these people doing evil? But then we turn around and say, well, if he's a loving God, why would he send anyone to hell? Like, again, there's so many truths in the Bible that are both. And so when some people start arguing over this is true, no, this is true, like, wait, I think both are true. We're just so small that we don't see it. And that's one where God is just, and he's bringing the wrath now finally. Took forever, he was slow, and then he brought it. And now we also see the love all along the way. And now this part, I think, changes gears a little bit.
You use the word slow, but that is our perception.
He's slow compared to us.
You are accurate that by our assessment, he is slow, that he has taken his time. But time is a human concept.
Yeah, God created time.
He is outside of it. So the book of Revelation also serves to answer the question where some people say, well, why is the God of the Old Testament different than the God of the New Testament? It's not. He's not. So
there you go.
Shall we start reading Revelation?
I want to, but you just you said so many things I want to talk more. Okay, I'm not going to get on that pedestal today. We're going to jump into 17.
Right.
We're going to try to read this chapter. Now, we got to put our spiritual hats on here. we can get caught up in looking into all the theories and all the craziness and try to see where's this, who's this, what's that. Put our spiritual hats on and see it for what it is compared to the Old Testament. So I think that's where we'll have a better understanding today in 17. So go for it, Levi.
Here it is, Revelation 17, New Living Translation from the YouVersion Bible app, I might add. The Great Prostitute. Okay, there's your cue. If you have kids listening in the background right now, it starts off with the Great Prostitute.
We're going to talk about that. So yeah, just there's your warning.
One of the 7 angels who had poured out the 7 bowls came over and spoke to me. Come with me, he said, and I will show you the judgment that is going to come on the great prostitute who rules over many waters. The kings of the world have committed adultery with her, and the people who belong to this world have been made drunk by the wine of her immorality. So the angel took me in the spirit into the wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, and blasphemies against God were written all over it. The woman wore purple and scarlet clothing and beautiful jewelry made of gold and precious gems and pearls. In her hand she held a gold goblet full of obscenities and the impurities of her immorality. A mysterious name was written on her forehead: Babylon the Great, mother of all prostitutes and obscenities in the world. I could see that she was drunk with the blood of God's holy people who were witnesses for Jesus. I stared at her in complete amazement.
All right, let's stop there. Let's do a bow.
That was only 6 verses.
I know, but can you imagine seeing that? Like my brain is like, I'm very visual. I mean, I'm visual in my head. Like I'm picturing all this.
So of course, I like to always look up the art. This is, thousands years old art.
Yeah.
Of some artists that depicted exactly what we just read in 6 verses.
Tried to. Yeah. Right. I don't even think that comes close to what was actually seen. It was
See,
probably quite a sight.
That was art from a certain area. But yeah.
Now, if we remember, this beast with these heads, that is the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. That means the Antichrist is a man that everyone's going to worship. So when that's why I say spiritual hats, because it's not really a dragon walking around. There's a person who's going to unite the whole world, who's going to be, but the dragon represents it and is representative of the power that's behind the Antichrist and all that. Mm-hmm. And what's riding the dragon is this woman. And I just wanted to talk about the Old Testament. We have to pull that in. Levi made a comment before we jumped on here. It's very true. Who's Babylon? What's Babylon's been gone for how long? It doesn't exist.
No, it's not the city.
Empire,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Is it still a city?
No, I'm saying, so we know it's not the city of Babylon that we're talking about.
Yes.
It's everything that Babylon represents.
Exactly. And so what does Babylon represent? In my research, really, Babylon, especially in the Old Testament, you see it's like Israel and Jerusalem against Babylon. Like there were like 2 very different places, very different stories. Mm-hmm. Babylon was everything wretched. It was everything against God. If you could go against God, they figured out ways to do it. And then a lot of religions later on, Rome, Greece, a lot of these big religions gods that people still study, Greek mythology, they stole from Babylon. And some of our Christian things that we do was actually things stolen from Babylon that we then twisted to be Christian. Now, some people want to argue whether we should do them or not. We're not going to have that debate today. There are some things, especially around Christmas and Easter, that we do that we steal for Christ. I think it's okay we steal things for Christ. I'm okay with it.
Well, not to branch off there, but the heart behind some of that was, let's redeem it. Let's hijack it. Let's take it back over and let it stand for something similar. Other people say, no, the symbolism is still there. Let's not. But the point still stands that you're making, that Babylon is like the seat of the Antichrist, the very root of the Antichrist, the very root of like our sinful lifestyles.
Here, we'll twist that. Not quite the root of it. So
go ahead.
We'll say this. It's the root of the religion,
the
evil, the bad religion. So any cult, any religion that's against God, anything that, I mean, you would just name them off. Islam, I guess I want to be more careful. I'm not going to name any more off. But at the root of them, you would find Babylon roots. And that's what this is. And so Babylon is actually the religious side. And you see how it's riding the Antichrist. So the power, the Antichrist, the dragon, the root of the Antichrist is the devil, right? That's the power. That's where it's coming from. The woman is the prostitute, which is also the Old Testament. Whenever you tried to worship in a religion that was for the benefits, you're prostituting. So we worship God because of who he is. And then God said through his prophets many times over, you're prostituting Israel, or say you're going to the prostitute Israel. You are not doing the right thing. Like, stick with the person who God is. Like, who God is who we worship. We don't do it for the many things that I've even heard
what it does for me.
try to do. Yeah, what am I going to get out of this? Like, that wrong question. We can't ask that question. This is, if God is who he is, what should we do in light of that?
Well, more of the symbolism of a prostitute. A prostitute takes what is good and sacred and given by God and destroys it and defiles it and does it in a way that takes away the honor of it. And I think we don't need to, I mean, yeah, we're talking about sex. Okay. That's what it is. And so a prostitute takes what is good, twists it, and ruins it.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of the symbolism here.
That's good. That's really good. So and that's why they use the prostitute, because that's something that everyone knows across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And that the person who's prostituting, you don't ever say good stuff about them. Like, they clearly don't care about their body or don't care about that thing, and they don't hold it at the standard it should be. And it's all about just for
care about that thing. What
the thing.
The thing.
So prostituting when it comes to religion is very similar. Don't really care about the religion, just using it. And we've seen that. We've seen religion using its power or its authority to do bad things, just to do for greed, or for, again, what can you get out of it? What can you make people do? And a lot of times, we actually said this, I think you and I said this in the last Wednesday one, was the leader, bad world leaders usually try to partner up with the religious leaders, because they know if they can get the religion to move in the right way, they'll actually get a lot of people there too. So they try to partner, and that's what happens here. So,
all right. So,
with that being said, I think we explained most of the chapter. So maybe we can read the rest of it and then kind of touch on it again. Touch on what else is said.
So people were. There was another thing that had pointed out that all the kings of the world have prostituted with her. So it's something that is common among all history.
Well, and even in the end of times, this, like I said, there's a lot of talk through different books and different prophets, one world religion. They all come together to worship the beast, to worship the Antichrist. They all, like, it's one world religion. So you're right. In the past, a lot of them in the past have drank out of this. And then here at the end of times, they're all going to drink of it.
So let's jump to verse number 7 here.
Yeah.
Revelation 17:7. Why are you so amazed? The angel asked. I will tell you the mystery of this woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns on which she sits. The beast you saw was once alive, but isn't now. And yet he will soon come up out of the bottomless pit and go to eternal destruction. And the people who belong to this world, whose names were not written in the book of life before the world was made, will be amazed at the reappearance of this beast who died. This calls for a mind with understanding. The 7 heads of the beast represent the 7 hills where the woman rules. They also represent 7 kings, 5 kings who have already fallen. The 6th now reigns, and the 7th is yet to come. But his reign will be brief. The scarlet beast that was, but is no longer, is the 8th king. He is like the other 7, and he too is headed for destruction. The 10 horns of the beast are 10 kings who have not yet risen to power. They will be appointed to their kingdoms for one brief moment to reign with the beast. They will all agree to give him their power and authority Together they will go to war against the Lamb, capital L, Lamb, Jesus. But the Lamb will defeat them because he is Lord of all lords and King of all kings. And his called and chosen faithful ones will be with him. Woo! Does that mean we're going to get to see all this? The waters where the prostitute is ruling represent masses of people of every nation and language. The scarlet beast and his 10 horns all hate the prostitute. Plot twist, they will strip her naked, eat her flesh, and burn her remains with fire. Woo. For God has put a plan into their minds, a plan that will carry out his purposes. They will agree to give their authority to the scarlet beast, and so the words of God will be fulfilled. And this woman you saw in your vision represents the great city that rules over the kings of the world.
Mm-hmm. So this is all spiritual. Remember, it's not a real city. It's not a real thing. It's all spiritual. It's not actually seen. But it does say something interesting. It says it once was, and then wasn't, and then will be again. There's all kinds of rumors and stuff because it sounds like the Antichrist comes out of Europe. And so there's a lot of belief that maybe this is Rome comes back. So maybe Rome comes back to power because technically Rome never really fell. It just kind of like stopped.
We still have the city of Rome that is,
Yeah. And as it's almost like as their influence went out, they just started saying, okay, well, you rule that area, I'll rule this area. And Rome didn't technically like fall like a lot of the others. Like, Babylon fell, Assyria fell. No, this didn't happen. Persia fell. But so that's what I'm saying. One of the rumors and one of the things you can like dive deep into and try to figure out. Fun and all, but remember to keep the main things the main thing. Don't get caught up in debates. And when people get upset about this, we need to go fast forward. The next couple chapters, we're really going to see, like what you just mentioned, like, are we going to see the Lamb conquer this beast? Are we going to be there? Because it says we're going to follow in behind, right? And we're going to get in the end where it says Jesus does come back and we're riding behind him and Jesus does all the work. We don't do anything. So with that, we need to, if I debate with somebody, like I disagree with you on when the rapture happens, hey, we'll be raptured up together and we'll figure out who was right. Okay. Like it's all good.
That's what it really boils down to is we'll find out. We're not arguing about whether Jesus Christ is Lord or if God is eternal or if we should honor these certain commandments. Jesus said, live this way, don't live this way. That's what I'm going to hold tight to. That's what I'm willing to hold my ground on.
Yeah. And actually, I think that's what this chapter to me is saying is like, it's pointing out this Babylon, the prostitute, this religion. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it's the religious side. I might be a little wrong here, but if Babylon is representation of this religion, then this is the judgment against that religion. So the religion of the world, any religion, honestly, that's going against God, that is not for God, but again, for what we can get out of it. This final judgment is God's actually going to turn the beast, is going to turn all the leaders against those nasty religions. So
right.
I am going to throw this out there.
Sounds like a civil war almost.
Right. There are some people that I've heard say they think the Pope is corrupt, or they think these other world religious leaders are corrupt. Hey, in the end, if they are, they will be right there with the leadership thinking they're fine, and the leadership will all turn on them. It says the beast hates the prostitute. And so that's, again, God is using, and even that, like it says that God himself, he's the one who turned their minds. He used their hearts to accomplish his purposes. And that's that last part there in 17. Right? He has put it into their hearts. And that's amazing to me. God is using all that, even the evil, even the bad, to do this. And it's still a mess. It's still a mess in the end times. And I know we've talked about this enough to say, no, we don't want to be there. This doesn't sound fun. No, but if for some reason we'd find ourselves there, we just keep looking up. And what you said. We're worshiping God for who he is. He says to do this stuff. We're going to do it. Why? Because we know God is good and just
Worthy.
and loving. And
Yeah.
he has proven himself to me over and over. So I am, without a doubt, going to just trust him. And he's going to work it all out in the end.
So if there's any, if I'm again not here to let's figure out when the tribulation will come or mid-trib and all that kind of stuff we've talked about before. But this is kind of interesting that it says that when this beast that seems like it was dead comes back to life, it says those who were not written in the book of life will be amazed at the reappearance of this beast who had died. Does that mean that they're the only ones here to see that? Because then a few verses down later, it's mentioned that the faithful ones will be with the Lamb. Well, why are you mentioning that the faithful ones are with the Lamb unless they were not already otherwise accounted for? So
But then the debate goes farther when it says that he wages war against the Lamb and those who belong to the Lamb. And so that's where the debate just keeps going. And I don't think we're meant to know for sure.
I think you're right. And
I think God wants us.
Don't let this be a hill you die on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I will say that the spot I kind of landed on was that most of the tribulation was for Israel, to bring Israel back to God. Because right now Israel's full of a lot of people doing the Jewish thing, Jewish religion, but they kind of don't like God. They're asking, where were you, God, during the Holocaust? There's a lot of Jews who aren't happy with God, and some say they just don't even, I only say some. There's quite a few who say they don't even believe in God, but they keep doing Jewish things. And so there's a pretty strong belief that the tribulation is for them. But again, not down on that hill. Do you have anything else to finish up with before we pray out?
I don't think so, because I mean, that's a can of worms that I think we picked the worms off the top, and we covered Revelation 17 pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, and I love that part there where it keeps repeating in my brain. We worship God because of who he is. And so I just want to leave with that. That's what I want to take with me today.
That's really good.
Looking for who God is. That's why we're in Revelations. Who is God? And let's worship that, not whatever we want to imagine in our head. Let's keep finding out who the person of God is. It's weird to say person, but yeah, who the person of God is.
That's really what it is. So the semantics in the English language, but for this purpose, there's personhood and there's humanity. Humans are people, and so sometimes we say the personhood of God. Well, we're not talking. You're not always human when we say the person.
Yeah.
But I think that was pretty good. I think we landed on at least landed on a note. How's that?
On a note. So hey, 18 tomorrow. We're almost there. To honestly,
What was there? 22 altogether.
I would say many Christians would say their favorite part of the Bible will be pretty soon. Those last couple chapters where we see what is forever with Jesus look like. So that's gonna be cool.
Yep. All right. Why don't you pray us out, Chris?
Cool. Oh, Father, here we go. Help us, Lord, help us today to see you for who you are. Show yourself when we come to our quiet place to meet with you. Let us hear your voice. And Lord, I ask that you'll help us to never forget those moments that you have spent with us so that we don't fall away, because the world is calling us away from you. It's always trying to get us away. And today, Lord, I just want to worship you. I just want to spend time with you today. And I ask that you will help me to just see maybe a small thing you want me to do for you in the middle of whatever I'm doing. And I ask for everybody who listened to 714 today that they'll also have those eyes open, ready for you to just guide them into the works and the steps that you have, because you have good plans for us to help others and to just help your kingdom move forward. Lord, here we go. Thank you for all that you've given us. Amen.
Amen. All right. Make sure you jump on 714 tomorrow.
I know. I don't even know if we went over time. I didn't keep track. So, hey, One last thing, prayer, 21 days of prayer. That's still going. If you haven't jumped in, jump in now. I've been doing it, and it's been a good one. I'm enjoying these devotionals and stuff. So
It's right there.
there you go.
Yes.
All right. So happy Wednesday. See you guys later.